This is the story behind the $200 million deal that shockingly destroyed Justin Bieber. Now, when he sold his entire music catalog and cashed out, yeah, there was speculation that it was motivated by serious financial problems. But most people called it a genius financial move by a guy who'd already won the game. But these days, Justin Bieber looks more like a guy who's seriously unraveling than someone who just hit the jackpot. In fact, he looks a lot like a guy who's suffering from a very real, very fatal condition called the Legacy Liability. And this whole move raises a much bigger, much darker question. Did he really just want to cash out? Or did a global icon stage a $200 million ransom drop just to buy his freedom? So today we're going to examine the top 5 ways his legacy has become his biggest liability and how it's destroying Justin and his brand. All of it culminating in the mixed reviews his headlining performance at Coachella got. And if you missed the set, don't worry, I'm here to fill you in. And if you're new here, I'm Sam Ross. I'm an agency owner and creative director, and I have been behind the scenes with enough creators to know just how dark it gets when you start hating the thing that made you famous. So what happens when the human product outgrows the legacy empire, but then also feels lost without the identity it created for them? Well, they start rebelling. And ultimately, they start dismantling everything they've worked to build. Just look at Justin Bieber. At this point, it's like everything the guy builds, he turns around and destroys. And that is the legacy liability in a nutshell. When a company outgrows or needs to diversify beyond its core product, it just pivots. They replace the core product with something new and improved, or they add new evolutions to it, and then they just move on, right? Like for years, it was just straight up Doritos, and then they decided to try a new flavor, Cool Ranch, ooh, and now there's like 6 different Doritos. But when the human is the lead product, producing something as innately tied to the identity of that person, like music is for Justin, you can't just pivot away. Like you can't pivot away from yourself. So if you dream of building your own brand, or maybe you've got an emerging brand, then you gotta know about the legacy liability, because you might be quietly building the exact same trap for yourself and not even know it. Okay, so here are the top 5 ways the legacy liability is harming Justin Bieber. Let's get into it. For starters, that $200 million sell-off of his catalog to Hypnosis felt more like a brand exorcism rather than a brilliant business exit. And now, he's completely haunted by it. It's like the guy is stuck between 2 worlds, the teen pop star who was bigger than bubblegum, and the man who can't seem to find his footing and rejects every artistic expression he makes as an adult. This is textbook legacy liability, when the very thing that made you famous becomes the exact thing destroying your life. In branding, we talk a lot about building assets because we want things to generate value over time. But nobody talks about what happens when the asset becomes a cage you're trapped inside, demanding you play a character you outgrew a decade ago. I mean, what choice did he really have? Keep playing the character and slowly die inside, or burn the whole thing down? When Justin sold the bricks that built his empire, he was cutting the cord on his former self. And maybe, just maybe, he decided to let someone else own the past so he could finally own his future. Because it's like, he physically could not carry the weight of that teen persona anymore. And really, why should he? I mean, what is a person supposed to do when there is nowhere to grow but up? And then you've got number 2, the death of Drew House. He committed the same act of brand protest with his legacy streetwear brand as he did with his music catalog. He built Drew House into this massive apparel empire. I mean, fans were walking around with those smiley face logos all over their clothes, and it just became this huge pillar of his identity. It was actually a cultural phenomenon that generated millions of dollars. But here's where the trap showed up again for him. The entire brand relied on his visibility, him wearing the clothes, him posting the photos, him driving the hype. Then in April of 2025, he shuts it all down. He just abruptly and very publicly severs ties, announcing his departure via a very controversial, now deleted Instagram story, stating he's no longer involved because the brand does not represent him, his family, or his life. Then he issues this sort of do not buy announcement, urging his fans to abandon the brand, saying, if you're rocking with me, the human Justin Bieber, don't waste your money on Drew House. He even shared an AI-generated video showing him entering a house full of Drew House merchandise, taking out a match and setting it on fire. And then he just walks away and literally burns the whole thing down. It didn't take as long for him to free himself from this legacy as it did his music catalog, but when he felt he'd outgrown it, he was done. It didn't matter what it cost him. Number 3 is the anti-visibility game he's been crushing for the last few years. It's like his complete physical erasure from the public. These viral public appearances showing a descent into varying stages of disheveledness. Is that even a word? No, but it should be. And you see these pictures and you're looking at him and it just makes you wonder, is he okay? I'm sure you've seen the photos, right? Where he's totally checked out. Oh, he's kind of like skulking behind Hailey, using her as a human shield from the paparazzi. And he's in these like oversized sweatpants and these hoodies that are his now staple uniform that he can just kind of like hide in and disappear in. Now, I'm a fan of Biebs, and sometimes it's hard to see him just like walking around in this rundown homeless look he's got going. But then I remember that this is actually not about a lazy wardrobe choice. He is actively resisting the polished, perfect image of his past. Every hoodie is a rejection of the pop star uniform. Every scowl at the camera is a refusal to conform, which leads me right into number 4, hiding behind the Rode brand. He essentially blew up his own billion-dollar empire to become a supporting character in his wife's. I mean, just recently, Rode launched the Rode and the Bieber collaboration with the products that they put out to tee up his Coachella show. Now, from a branding and self-preservation perspective, this actually made a lot of sense. He is actively choosing to be a prop in her brand because it's safe. There are zero expectations on the husband of the founder. He gets to participate in the cultural zeitgeist without bearing the crushing weight of being the lead product. And you see it at every single product launch where Hailey shows up in this like flawless red carpet look and Justin trails behind her looking like he just rolled out of bed in sweats and yellow Crocs. And people say he's underdressing and disrespecting her big moments, but look a little closer, because this is the legacy liability playing out in real time. He gives her the exact thing she needs to sell lip treatments and skin creams, which is global visibility. But he gets to hide in plain sight, trading the pressure of his own legacy for a safe cameo in hers. Now, why would he do that? I think ultimately, it's not because the market stopped buying Justin Bieber. Of course they didn't. It's because Justin Bieber stopped buying Justin Bieber. And that brings us to number 5. Like I said, all of this culminating with Justin's headlining performance at Coachella. Now, he was reportedly paid $10 million for doing basically the absolute bare minimum. I mean, reviews have been mixed. Critics called it underwhelming, confusing, straight up lazy. And on the surface, you can see why. There's no glitzy stage production, no massive choreographed dance routines, all of which he can absolutely deliver. But this time, he just walked out on stage in his now staple uniform of baggy pants and a t-shirt and kept it all very minimal. And the oddest moment of the night was when he spent a full third of his set sitting at his laptop, doom scrolling through his own old YouTube videos, watching his younger self perform up on the screen and just kind of sang along karaoke style. Now, this could have easily been seen as a cheap nostalgia bait moment, but there was a lot more going on here than meets the eye. When you start viewing it through the lens of the legacy liability, you realize this was his way of reconciling the past with the present. The guy was literally duetting with the ghost of his former teen self up there on the stage. And all this time, he's been like fighting himself, burning down his brands, trying to physically disappear. It's like the current Justin Bieber has been trapped inside the machine of the Justin Bieber of the past. And the Coachella moment was him finally separating the two once and for all. And not just for us, for him too. He's sitting there and he's watching that little pop star up on the screen singing along with us. It was the perfect resolution, showing love and respect to his younger self, the artist who gave him everything, while publicly acknowledging that they are now two entirely different people. I don't know, maybe it was his way of finally making peace with his legacy. so it would stop being a liability. So let's bring this back down to earth, because you might not have a $200 million music catalog sitting around, but if you're building a brand, I'm going to show you how you might be quietly building your own legacy liability. Most of us start businesses to gain freedom. You put an offer out there, you get some clients, and in the beginning, it is absolutely thrilling, right? You're doing the work you love, and people are actually paying you for it. But then the reality of the business model sets in, and you realize you've accidentally locked yourself inside a golden cage because you are trading time for money. You're only making revenue when you are directly helping clients one-on-one. And suddenly you hit this hard capacity ceiling because you can only be in so many places at once. And that initial excitement that you had when everything was going great in the beginning turns into massive burnout, and you become a hostage to your own calendar. And just like Justin, the machine demands that you are a part of it to work, especially if you're the name and the face of the brand. You've got to keep showing up, keep performing, and keep delivering that exact same service just to keep the lights on, even if you've completely outgrown the work. And then you end up quietly resenting the very people that you're trying to help. So how do you escape the golden handcuffs without burning everything to the ground like Justin? You've got to be willing to kill the old version of your brand before it takes you down with it. So step one is you got to diagnose your own legacy liability. You have to ask yourself the hard questions. Are you dreading the work that made you successful? Are you faking enthusiasm just to keep the revenue flowing? Step two is what I call building the brand bridge. You've got to evolve your messaging, your marketing, and your offer structure so that it accurately reflects the human you are becoming today and frees you from the one-to-one trap and the person you were yesterday. That's exactly what we did with my client, Helena. She came to me feeling stuck and totally exhausted by her own business model. She was completely trapped in her private practice, trading time for money with her patients. Now, she had an incredibly successful model that helped people at a specific stage of their journey. But over time, as she evolved, so did the caliber of her expertise. She was outgrowing the very thing she was known for, and the constant one-to-one delivery was burning her out. Luckily, she had the courage to actually look at the disconnect, press pause on the machine, and do the really hard work to make the changes. She decided to package her expertise into a group coaching format to finally overcome that capacity hurdle. So we spent 6 months cleaning up her messaging, getting her brand fully aligned, and relaunched a new scalable product that reflected her actual authority at this point in time. And because she evolved the business model to match the needs of her market and her own growth, she launched her newly evolved program and made over $15,000 in her first month without being tied to the clock. It took courage, but it prevented the burnout and unlocked her freedom. So my question for you today is this: look at your current offers and your marketing right now. Where are you performing a past version of yourself? Or are you staying stuck in a golden cage just because it feels safe? When was the last time you looked at your own website? Take a look at your copy. Does it reflect who you are today in your business at this moment? Because you can only hide behind your old success for so long. Claim your current authentic authority now, or pay a much heavier ransom for it later on. And if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed with any of this, you can click the link below to book a free brand audit call with me, and we can build your authentic authority together. I'll see you soon.